Bungie's upcoming game, Marathon, has seen a ton of controversy this past year. The major issue that has brought so much negative press is the art scandal situation, which among other issues, caused the game to be delayed and many to absolutely despise it. But despite the hatred and controversy, Marathon has persevered, and now the hype is at an all-time high. Its reputation has wildly changed, and people are excited. In this video, I want to take a look at the history of the art scandal situation and show how Marathon's reputation has changed for the better. To understand the art issue, we need to understand Marathon's visual identity. It's December 1994. Bungie has just released their brand new game, Marathon, exclusively for the Apple Macintosh. The game's art style, which, while very much inspired by science fiction from that era, formed its own simple visual identity. Bright and expressive colors contrast the dark, grim environments. Colors constantly clash, and some rooms are so vibrant and saturated, even in places that were created by humans in the game's lore. Months following its release, Craig Mullins created 5 pieces of fan art for the game, and later, official artwork for Marathon Durandal. These now iconic images were inspired by the original game, an interpretation based on the simple visuals, but nonetheless have formed a visual identity for the universe beyond the games. Fast forward 30 years, and Bungie wants to visually reimagine the Marathon universe, while staying loyal to the original games. New Marathon draws from the old art style, in the way it utilizes bright, loud colors, but it also works to create a new flavor of sci-fi. It taps into graphic realism, a style that combines simple design with aspects of the real world. It gives the world a sleek, gritty, and futurized direction, a simplified, universal language with functionality in a grounded universe. It's a beautiful amalgamation of so many different artists, creatives, and teams. This is what graphic realism means to Marathon. To quote from Joseph Cross, the former art director for Marathon, quote, "On one side, graphic realism is about a simplified and deconstructed universal design language, strong graphic design and color statements, and limited materials. The other side is about realistic proportions and scale, implied function and detail, and a generally grounded world. We're focused on creating visual brand of science fiction that hopefully feels fresh and stands the test of time." End quote. Marathon is also inspired by a plethora of science fiction and media. Of course it draws from the original Marathon, but also games like Mirror's Edge, movies like Ghost in the Shell, Aeon Flux, the works of Katsuhiro Otomo and Koji Morimoto, The Designers Republic, and Chris Cunningham. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse also had a profound impact on the game, as it was proof that they could take creative risks. This is the basis of Marathon's unique and beautiful aesthetic. Now it's April 2025. Marathon's alpha just went live, and it was met with many criticisms. Main ones included a lack of proximity chat, no emphasis on solos, and of the art style. Many absolutely love the art direction of the game, and for others, it did not suit their tastes. The alpha delivered on the graphic realism aspirations, especially in the interiors of many rooms and buildings. However, many found issues with the way the world looked on the outside. The lighting seemed off, the weather dynamics looked strange, and the textures looked faded. But the biggest issue lies in assets that went unnoticed. On May 15th, 2025, artist Anti-Real went to Twitter and shared pieces of her work that had made its way into the live game. Quote, "The Marathon Alpha released recently, and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs I made in 2017. End quote. Anti-Real is an independent artist. She did not work for Bungie, and she shared a thread of many examples of this occurring, which was met by a ton of online backlash and hatred. Her art was lifted and placed into many textures and assets in the game. It was an act of plagiarism. Coupling this with the already negative perception from the alpha put Bungie in a corner. Bungie made a statement on the same day. Quote, "We immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon, and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in game. To prevent similar issues in the future, we are conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets, specifically those done by the former Bungie artist, and implementing stricter checks to document all artists' contributions. We value the creativity and dedication of all artists who contribute to our games, and we are committed to doing right by them. Thank you for bringing this to our attention." End quote. Shortly after, Joseph Cross and game director Joe Ziegler took to a livestream, where Joseph Cross said the following.
It came to our attention that an artist who worked on Marathon in the early stages of pre-production took a number of graphic elements from a graphic designer without permission or acknowledgement and placed them on a decal sheet that was then checked in 2020. The decal sheet included icons and text elements. These elements ended up in our alpha build, and there's absolutely no excuse for this oversight, and we are working on and 100% committed to our review process to ensure instances like this don't happen again on Marathon or at Bungie. We've reached out to Anti-Real, the artist in question, and followed up to ensure that we do right by this artist, and we're committed to removing anything that is questionably or inappropriately sourced.
Paul Tassi reported that Bungie was beginning to do an internal audit and reviewing every bit of the game's assets. Many were not convinced by Bungie's reasoning, as the company has been accused of stealing artwork before. The damage had been done. Even though this was the result of a single artist committing an act of theft and plagiarism, the event was hyperbolized, and many will claim that the entire game's visual identity was copied and pasted. You'll hear the phrases "art raiders" and "plagiarism will make me God," which has greatly impacted the game's reputation. It's really unfortunate, as this event was unethical. The act of plagiarism deserved the criticism it got, but this event was hyperbolized and taken to the extremes on the internet. The common belief on the internet is that the game's entire visual language has been stolen, which is not true, as it's a beautiful amalgamation of a variety of styles, artists, and inspiration. It's admirable that Joseph Cross took much of the blame for this event, as that's what a great leader does, but it's unfortunate that he was met with such insane and disrespectful backlash. This whole situation was terrible for all artists involved, and made even worse by the hyperbole. On June 17th, 2025, Bungie put out an article where they responded to the massive amount of feedback around the game. But really quick, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider subscribing, as that'll help me put out more videos on this channel. They announced that the game was being delayed from its original release date of September 23rd, 2025 to an undefined release that we now know to be March 5th, 2026. A quote from Bungie, "Some of our immediate focus areas will be more challenging and engaging AI encounters, more rewarding runs with new types of loot and dynamic events, making combat more tense and strategic, doubling down on the Marathon universe, increased visual fidelity, more narrative and environmental storytelling to discover and interact with, a darker tone that delivers on the themes of the original trilogy, adding more social experiences, a better player experience for solos and duos, and prox chat so social stories can come to life." End quote. This was a promise to players, and of course, they were working to solve the art issues. Bungie went dark for a few months. Now comes December 2025, and Bungie released a new Vidoc, where they shared the new vision for the game.
The world needs to feel like there is something sinister underneath the surface, even when the colors are really bright.
One of the things we've really focused on is making sure the environments are selling the tone we want to hit with the game.
We've brought a little bit of groundedness, a little bit of grit, a little bit of darkness, a little bit of that mood that kind of is necessary for an extraction shooter to feel dangerous.
The game had changed for the better. They had improved upon the visual identity of the game, and made it feel so much more real. The weather amplifies the world, giving it a distinct tone, and the colors contrast and blend into the environment seamlessly. The improved lighting furthers the visual immersion, giving depth that wasn't there before. The new version taps into the graphic realism language and identity. Comparing this version to the alpha, it was a night and day difference. And they had delivered on all fronts and critiques. They introduced Rook, a runner shell built specifically for those going in solo. They brought proximity chat, and all the art issues were fixed. Anti-Real even came out with a statement saying, quote, "The Marathon art issue has been resolved with Bungie and Sony Interactive Entertainment to my satisfaction." End quote. The issues had been solved. The dark world of Marathon was coming together, and the game was heading to release in March 2026. But in the same month, Joseph Cross, the art director for Marathon, departed from the studio. He had been working with Bungie for many years, once was the lead concept artist for Destiny, an integral part of shaping the game's universe and visual identity, and then became Marathon's art director in 2020. Joseph Cross would clarify that it was his decision to leave Bungie. Quote, "I'm super proud of the project and what the team accomplished over the last 6 years. I'm incredibly proud of the visual world we built for Marathon. Getting support at this scale for something a bit different is rare, and the art team at Bungie is the best in the biz. I'll be enjoying playing the game as a fan with all of you. Massive thank you to everyone who has supported through all of it." End quote. Joseph Cross is such a talented and genius artist, and he greatly impacted Marathon. The visual identity of this game is truly unique, and something that the games industry has never really seen before. It's unfortunate to see Cross's departure. I hope he enjoys his time off, and I'm so grateful for his work. He truly loved this game and universe, and he did his job, forming a visual language that has inspired so many. I'm so excited to see what else he works on in the future, as his art is just so captivating. In January 2026, Joseph Cross did an interview with reader Grev, which gave us insight into quite a few things. This article is a fantastic read, and it really shows how creative Joseph Cross is. I'll be linking it in the description. But there are a few main takeaways. He first spoke on how he wanted to make sure that Marathon had a unique visual identity that was much different than Destiny. He wanted to make sure they weren't making another game that looked like it could be the first cousin of Destiny, and hinted that there was an original, more realistic art style before they pivoted to the current graphic realism art style. Cross is then asked if making the pitch for the game was easy or difficult, and he replied with, quote, "It was easy in a way for me, creatively and professionally, because I believed in it so much. I still believe in it. I was like, if we can pull this off, we're gonna be on the right side of history. Best case scenario, it becomes a big hit and helps usher in a new sort of stylistic aesthetic in the industry. Worst case scenario, it's a cult classic that people who are interested appreciate." There's also something about the design of the game, where at a certain point I really did believe that art had potentially more of a responsibility for creating interest than it would if we were working on a different kind of game. Nobody's reinventing the wheel here. We're putting compelling spins on established mechanics. The narrative is also not reinventing the wheel. It's an abandoned space colony where something mysterious happened. We've seen this a lot. It's about how you spin it, and at some point, for better or for worse, I told myself that this is an opportunity for art to sort of step up and provide a level of newness to this world. End quote. Cross has some very interesting insight here. Bungie has always been on the cutting edge in the games industry. Each of their games has revolutionized the gaming world. With the original Marathon, it was the introduction of many key mechanics to FPS gaming. It was one of the first games to feature free look by using the mouse. Halo furthered the FPS genre with a compelling narrative, dual sticks on a controller, and it revolutionized multiplayer. Destiny changed the live service field, demonstrating that a game could continue to evolve for decades, and many tried to do what Destiny did in live service. With the new Marathon, the cutting edge is with its revolutionary art style, and Cross directly commented on this by saying that in the best case scenario, it would usher in a new aesthetic to the industry. He also gave further insight into why he left Bungie. Quote, "It ended up being a confluence of things. I worked on this project for 6 years. I still consider myself essentially a commercial artist, and I have an identity as an artist, as an individual. And understanding game development culture, at some point I understood how I relate to all of this. You know, I'm not a founder of Bungie. This is not my company, and I'm conscious of the number of projects I get to work on in my life. I'm not getting any younger. I've spent what will ultimately be 15 years essentially on 2 projects for Bungie, Destiny and Marathon, with film work in between. So after 6 years, leaving a week or 2 before release lock, I felt an incredible amount of satisfaction in what we'd done." End quote. He left Bungie satisfied. He had completed what he had set out to do, and is now moving on to other projects. I am so excited to see what he works on next, and I'm really thankful for the work he has done, and I'm glad he feels satisfied. And lastly, he responds to the overwhelming negativity surrounding this game. He's asked this question, quote, "There was this month or 2-month long span when the conversation around marathons seemed to be preoccupied with the question of, will this fail? Is this like Concord in some way? I'm curious how that felt for you. That stretch where the discourse around the game was not super flattering, but also maybe not entirely about the game itself." End quote. And he responds, quote, "That kind of stuff hits everyone differently. We had both spells, where there was a lot of positivity and there was a lot of negativity. It's difficult for me to take any of the stuff personally because I believe in the art, because I believe in what we've done. I believe we did something really cool, and I think it will pan out. I can't control the way the game plays. I'm not a designer. I'm not the game director. I can only control what I can control. And what I could control, I feel really good about. And you can't take that away from me, as much as the haters try online or wherever. And whether someone doesn't happen to like the art direction personally, whether they don't agree with some political thing Bungie did, or whatever the animosity du jour is, you can't take the thing I care about the most away. There's a part of me definitely that feels bummed. But sort of in the same way you feel bummed like you got unlucky. It's like when you drop the toast and it goes face down. It's like, damn, I wish it would have gone face up when I dropped the toast. It feels like losing a lottery ticket or being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that stuff never feels personal, you know? End quote. This sentiment connects to the larger scope of this video, and that is ultimately the reputation of Marathon outside of its fan base. Over the last few weeks, Bungie has been releasing a number of exciting and amazing trailers and gameplay footage that is changing how people view Marathon. Those who were the biggest Marathon haters are now its #1 supporters. The sentiment is changing. Bungie has adapted and implemented all of the feedback they received, and now a lot of people are receiving the game positively. It feels like every time a new trailer comes out, more people are getting excited. So it really all hinges on release. People are changing how they see Marathon. The hyperbolized view of the game, that it had stolen all of its art, is no longer the internet's ultimate perspective on the game. People are not seeing it that way anymore. Sure, there's still a lot of haters and a lot of negativity towards the game, but it's rapidly changing. They fixed the art issues. They made the game look so much more beautiful. They've teased the raid-like mechanics that are seemingly game-changing. They've introduced proximity chat, decaying bodies, the Rook shell. There's so many good changes that they've made. How Bungie has responded to and implemented feedback has contributed to the hype building around this game. There's a lot of speculation. No one knows what's really going to happen, but Bungie is confident in this game, and I am too. I think there's really something special here, and I'm excited to see how the full game pans out. Marathon has a ton of potential, and I think the game is going to deliver. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and let me know what you thought down in the comments. Click the screen right now for another video, and again, thank you for watching.